The Lipman Company is well known throughout the United States. Individually and as a family, the Lipmans were involved with many of Collier County's Jewish firsts. Bill Lipman, the last of the founders of 6L's, and his sister-in-law, Gloria Goldberg Lipman, shared their stories in 2011.
It started with Max Lipman, who was the father. My husband, Arby, the oldest of 6 children, had a medical discharge after 16 months of being in the Army during the war. And he came and they formed a company called Lipman and Lipman.
And they were partners. They were kind enough to take me in as a partner.
My father-in-law was one of these very fair men. One child was not worth more than another child. All his children were equal. And when the war ended and as his son-in-laws were being discharged and so forth, they were all welcome to come into the company. And at that point, only one son-in-law had a government job and he held out. So there was the father, 3 sons, and 2 of his son-in-laws, where the name came from. 6L's, 6 Lipmans.
I was originally born in New York City and then moved to the east coast of Florida in 1942 in Fort Lauderdale, and then to Hollywood for a number of years before coming to Naples.
As we were on the East Coast, we were very involved as a large family in belonging to one temple. We were the largest Jewish family in Hollywood. We all belonged to the same temple, had lots of bar and bat mitzvahs and so forth and so on. Therefore, we did the same when we came to Naples.
We decided to move the headquarters from Hollywood, Florida, to Immokalee, Florida.
My husband was in charge of running the packing plants as they were built. The machinery, I don't really know what he knew about machinery, but he's the one who put it together. And if the machines that were cleansing the tomatoes when they came in, or the peppers or whatever they were running, if the machine ran until 3 in the morning, he was there until 3 in the morning.
I came to work in Immokalee, but would go back east at the beginning to Hollywood on weekends to be with my family. But my family remained in Hollywood.
We were always known as 6L's. Did a lot of traveling. And it wasn't easy living in hotels and motels. I mean, everyone thought it was very glamorous. My friends thought it was fantastic that I could send my children to camp and then go travel, like I was going to Grossinger's for the summer or something. No, it was tedious. It was hard work. We started early. We never quit until late. I mean, nothing came easy. I had been to Immokalee and I said, no way will I bring my children to school here. And I didn't. He came home on weekends. Maybe he snuck home once during the week if he could. But that's when I saw him. If he couldn't get home, then I came to Immokalee for the weekend. We built 5 apartments for 5 of us because Bill, although he had an apartment, he wasn't out there as much. The office was still in Hollywood, so he was there. So 5 housed the 5 partners, which I used, I think, more than anyone else because I lived out there. Their schools were pretty bad, and my daughter taught there for 7 years. The average person thinks that we have a whip and tote that barge, lift that bale. No, it's not like that. You don't know half of what these workers get because it's never written. Only bad news makes news. They don't print the good news. They don't know that these workers do not pay for their housing. At least when I worked, they didn't. I don't know about now. I can only say what I knew, and I'm sure they don't. They work for crew chiefs, work by the piece. The faster they work, the more money they make. They get a lot of perks. We have some crew chief. A crew chief is one who brings 20, he'll tell you, I have 20 pickers, you know, I need housing for 30 people, whatever. We have some crew chiefs that their children are now crew chiefs. They've been with us a lot of years. And they would never stay with us if we were cruel and if they weren't happy with us. I mean, there's a lot of people rely on that crop to have bread put on their table. And a lot of people borrow money that will take them 10 years if they ever pay it back. It's always helped me, boss. You know, I need help. Didn't work much this week. That's about all I can tell you about what I know about the laborers. We have whole families, and that's what you like. Large families. They come with their sons and daughters and son-in-laws, and they all work. And of course, they all have Social Security cards. We have a school there that is sanctioned at Farm 7, which is on 41 East, where I think it's one of the larger acreages that we have. There is a school there and paid teachers who have preschoolers, pre-kindergarten, pre-K and K, and I don't know if they go further than that while their parents are in the fields. They are left there, they have their meals until their parents come back from picking, harvesting.
Most of my immediate friends were Jewish. They were permanent residents, but most of them were non-religious.
We didn't have a synagogue. We had no central meeting places. It was later, after the temple was built. And I don't think Bill remembers that the temple was built when Lou's son had to be bar mitzvahed. It was put up really fast in a hurry because Rabbi Schusterman came and he bar mitzvahed my oldest granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, and my oldest nephew, Lou's son, Ricky, who still lives in Naples. 6L's at the time came along and said, we will supply the architect who to design a synagogue. And the architect came to Hollywood a few times to show us the plans and what we thought of them and so forth.
I was present when the first synagogue was constructed in Naples. However, my brother, Lou, was very active in the construction of the temple, the original temple, which was later sold to the Baptist church. And he was instrumental in building that temple because he was for a home where all the Jews could congregate at one time. Previous to that, they would be meeting at the homes of the few Jewish families that were living every weekend. And he felt that they should have their own structure. So he got the company involved in building the temple. My brother provided almost all the labor, free of charge, and put one of our employees in charge of construction because he had previous experience in constructing buildings. And he had all our suppliers contribute finance to the construction, and that is probably why it was built without any mortgage.
Temple Shalom, and those years it was called the Jewish community of Naples, which is a story about Rabbi Schusterman and how he came. Just saw the sign. He was driving, he had a condo, I think, in South Florida. Not as far as, very south of Homestead. And he and his wife were taking a trip. And they were driving up 41, and there was a little bit of a sign on 41 and Pine Ridge Road that told you the Jewish Community Center is down there. And he turned and came in, and it so happened we were preparing an Oneg Shabbat for that evening. And he said, "My name is Rabbi Schusterman," and so forth and so on. The next thing we knew, he was retired, and he said he'll be back. And he did. We bargained him down to $12,000 a year. And of course we had to raise it, and we did. A lot of fundraising to make that 12,000 plus. That and fundraising is the only way we really supported the temple.
But I did move to Naples in time to run into Rabbi Schusterman, and he was very well liked by the congregants.
There's a small community and a smaller synagogue. You knew everyone. And anyone could go up there and do the service. When Hadassah started, I was a charter member. We have a tablecloth with names on it, I think, and of course it was my name. Then was Lipman. Naturally, the Sisterhood of the Temple. What others? I spent half my life on the golf course. Went to the functions that I chose to go to. I think we tried to open up a few more Jewish organizations, women's organizations, and we tried the Jewish War Veterans Auxiliary. Could not get it off the ground. B'nai B'rith could not get off the ground. There were a few that were, people were vacationing. They really weren't interested in organizations that we had. Our first home was a little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. And the reason I bought that house was there were, I think, 6 Jews on the block, and all had children my children's ages. They went to kindergarten together.
I lived on Gulf Shore Boulevard when I first arrived in Naples for 2 years, and then bought a house in Quail Creek Village.
Naples was my haven. Quiet, no tumults, no people to fight with. I mean, it was just a relaxing place for me to go. And of course, I played golf here, and I looked forward to my 3 or 4 days that I could be out there.
Well, I'd leave early in the morning and travel to Immokalee, to the office, and that normally took 30 minutes commute.
My daughter says that you have to give back to a community where you make your money. My daughter did work for the company. Once she retired from school, she went into the office and she devised, I think, these plans of giving back to the community. And she sees that it's given back in huge amounts. I don't remember the number of scholarships, but there are scholarships. There are kids who have gone on to graduate school that she still sends money to, gets lots of letters from these students, and some of them are beautiful.
My youngest son decided to come into the produce business, and then he moved to Naples. His name is David J. Lipman.
The future for me here is I would like to see more Jewish people. I would like to know that if my great-grandchildren remain here. It's a wonderful community. I'm very happy where I am.